comments. Number one, it took 6 years for the government to come up with a compensation board that will, address the needs of you. That's a pretty bad record. 6 years. And my question to Atty. Saliha is, you talked about the process of compensation. Can you give us a sneak preview about what the provisions are of the IRR? And also, how long will it take for the claims to be processed? And number three, is there any monitoring body that will look after the implementation of the IRR? I ask this because I have had so many of these IRRs, and most of the IRRs remain as IRR. So that's my question. Number two, to Dr. Muncy, I really admire you. Lived in Marawi for 42 years, so you've been there for a long time. Anyway, my question is this. Women always step up whenever there's a crisis. They're the ones who make sure that there's food on the table. They're the ones who sell their jewelry. They're the ones who really make sure that the home keeps functioning. My question is, then what are some measures taken that are particularly focused on the woman you talked about, the 65-year-old grandmother? So what are some of the measures, and also to everybody, that's provided for women who are really the ones who make sure that their household keeps working while the men are fighting? Number three, I take issue with, first, Congressman Adiong and Congressman Lanto, you're both IDPs. However, IDPs are not monolithic. You belong to the rich and the privileged, right? Because what you lost are businesses, right? What you lost are your houses, big ones. And I'm sure you have land titles. But what about the poor and the marginalized? I think that's what we are looking at. And finally, about the external ideology, Congressman Adiong, of course, they have an impact, but they will not take it if the internal conditions are not there. So we talk about poverty, we talk about the absence of accountability, and let's face it, sure, Marawi was destroyed by by violent extremism, sure. But the state also used extreme violence in responding to Marawi, and that destroyed Marawi. And we've been there, by the way, with my PCID friends doing research. We went to ground zero. Oh, until now, you find ground zero is ground zero. We didn't find any of those houses that are built, so forth and so on. So those are my questions. I hope you all got it, right? Okay, thank you so much.
Restart.
Thank you, Matt, for that question. So, first, you accept to mention some of the provisions of the IRR. No? So, in the IRR, there is this provisions on the documents required for the claiming of compensation. We have also the procedures and who are those claimants entitled for compensation. We have also included the deductions, deductions of from the amount or gross amount of the claims that the claimants can be awarded. And then for the MCB po is for 5 years only. So the Marawi Compensation Board has 5 years life expectancy. So for the filing of claims, the law itself provided for 1 year. 1 year from commencement, it will be announced by life expectancy. So 1 year po yung file ng claims, and after that, those claims filed before the NC. The law itself provided for 1 year. Consideration of compensation, it will be announced by the so another is 1 year for your partial claims, and after that, those claims filed before the NC. The law itself provides consideration of compensation of compensation. they can be announced by the members of what you would short side the law only provides regions that when we they identify the members of what you would short side the law only provides regions that when we they identify the members of what you would short side
In the following way. In dialogue. Some of the women's groups so that they could work on livelihood issues themselves and to help them market that. In her case, and some of the other women, they make these beautiful pieces of fabric here. We make sure it gets to market at a higher price and they get all the profit from that. Another thing we've been able to do with women and their families is birth registration. It might surprise many of you in Manila, but a lot of people in Mindanao have not been able to register their births owing to a variety of situations. So we've helped them with late birth registration, which as you know is important for all other documents you need in the country. And then psychosocial support. Sometimes in the case of Faha, she gets really worked up and she gets very emotional with very good reason. So sometimes it's just to allow support as she and other people go through that process. But I think in the case of Faha in particular, since I mentioned her and you mentioned her, one of the things we've done, which we recommend be done often, is to, if I may, shine the spotlight on them so that they can speak. It's not me speaking for them, it's not my organization speaking for them, it's they speaking, their voice, their message. And I'm very pleased to tell you she has given her point of view to 3 ambassadors thus far. She has spoken very frankly and candidly from her point of view, on behalf of other IDPs, but from her point of view. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, ma'am, for that, for the question. The way that Uncle Mac and I were one of the fortunate IDPs, if you describe it that way. But we also lost so much. The memories, like in my case, I lost our ancestral house and ancestral home, so that would never be back. Even if we rebuild our homes and our houses, the attachment to that, the value can never be, compensated, if I may use the term. So the compensation really is just, medyo maliit yung compared to the trauma that we're still experiencing now. I think your question about the violent extremism and how the government reacted to that. Yes.
Yeah, it's an ideology.
Yes.
Was there, but was total condition giving
Yes.
coverage, and that the state also used violent extremism in Marawi. So it's not just, the violent extremism of
Yes.
the rebels, but the use
Yeah.
of the state.
Yeah, I understand. That's why my position in this is not only to focus on the rehabilitation, but to really hold, people to account. Marawi City is very unique. It's actually the first time that we saw all the defense assets of our national government. Water. They use, all sorts of military assets, water, land, and air. They use the Air Force, they use the Navy, and they use the infantry. Solely to, it's really an irony, the only way to liberate Marawi is to destroy Marawi. And in fact, Mayor Mahul at the time and myself, nobody actually were in favor of using air asset. All of us opposed that at the time. And in fact, the military explained to me that if we don't use our air asset, the war or the conflict may extend up to 2 years, and that we cannot allow. They used the example, I think in Levant, in Iraq, in Syria, it took a couple of years before they can finally cleanse the area of violent extremists or the ISIS members. And that we cannot afford because there's also a potential threat coming from Mindanao at that time. The Bangsamoro Islamic freedom fighters, the BIMF, who also had a strategic alliance with the Abu Sayyaf and Dawla Islamiyah. They also pose a threat because the intel at the time, the intelligence report at the time, is they may spill over to other areas, to Mindanao and perhaps to Iligan City, if we cannot contain the conflict within a certain area. And so what we proposed at the time with the generals is that there has to be a corridor, a defense corridor from Maguindanao and Lanao del Norte, so that the forces of the AFF, who the military think may send reinforcement to the area, will not have the access to get into Marawi City and then reinforce the forces that are fighting our troops during that time. And so the explanation that was given to us is that they don't have any choice but to use our air asset in order to, because Marawi City, as you see, many of you actually have visited Marawi City. We have tall buildings and concrete walls and very narrow streets.
Yeah.
So those troops who were first time to visit Marawi City and with the purpose really of liberating the area will have a problem really recapturing areas in the Maha. And at that time they were also foreign fighters who were veterans of Iraq and Syria, were really good sniper shooters. So I think, yes, ma'am. I think it's really it saddens us up to this day that the destruction of Marawi was heavily caused by the bombs, air bombs, rather than the fighting on the ground. And that's why, ma'am, I've said that it is the obligation now of the state, not just an administration policy, but an obligation of the Philippine state to rehabilitate Marawi City because of the damage that it caused. So we are actually. I'm now lucky because I have the chairmanship of the committee of special committee on Marawi in the House of Representatives, and I will push for that. I will have people who are responsible for the rehabilitation before come in and report to us what is the status and what causes the delay. And I want to hold this government responsible for really continue rehabilitating Marawi. Not just the local government, not so much of the local government, but the national government. Right? So I think that's what we need to do in order to move forward. Maraming salamat.
Thank you for your answers. We have another question on the floor. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Marilan Manila. I'm actually the Chief External Affairs of Salubris Medical Center. It's not I'm a medical doctor. But I've been very much interested in Marawi, particularly Mindanao actually. I've been called Mindanao since 1997. My questions actually are more practical. Number one, I would like to know, actually I don't even know who in particular is in charge of rebuilding Marawi. I can pinpoint one person. I can only pinpoint the committee. But the committee is useless because there's no person. Di ba sabi ni Shakespeare, when you run as a committee, don't run the committee, that's paraphrased. There's no leadership. But anyway, my question is this. On the rebuilding of Marawi, I would like to see, and I've been checking websites since 2019, 2018, for the particular like financial reports. What are the expenditures? What are the sources of funding from our own government, from external donors, from private institutions on one side of the column? On the other side of the column, I would like to see expenditures, actual expenditures, not just budgets. You know, I would like to know also, given this, I would like to see disparities, or, you know, whether, not disparities, but not taking their significant. And I would like to see how these are being applied to rebuilding Marawi. It's like what we do in health, where the national health accounts. We take accounts of national funding. How much is the Philippine, the national government giving to health? And you can do this for, actually you can do this in Congress for oversight. How much is going to Marawi for rebuilding? How much is being spent and who are funding? That's number one. Number two, so raised this about the watchdog. You know, who's the oversight? Is there any oversight mechanism in place, structured on the rebuilding of Marawi except Team Bangon? Which, you know, although it's really hard to rebuild something, but 6 years it's been wrong. And so I just want to know about the oversight, especially on the financial oversight. Because for me, that's very critical. On the, people are doing the governance oversight, but the financial oversight is what I'm doing now. Governance, I see a lot of stats on governance, but nothing on the financial side. And then the third one, which I observed, is that I checked the demographics of Marawi. Slightly over 50% are composed of women. Yet, you know, there's no mention about women in the reports. And there's no mention of, particularly of healthcare. Women and children do need healthcare, especially during these traumatic transitions. And it's absent. Nobody's monitoring healthcare in Marawi. I don't even know the health. I tried Googling last week, 3 weeks ago, rather. I tried to Google the health data of Marawi. I can't find any, except old data. So I'm really, really concerned that, of course, the trauma is everything about the trauma, but the physical things too. And I don't know whether these women, we've heard reports, we've sent us reports, women being raped, women being, some reports, we don't know. You know, and this is crucial. Imagine, we talk about women and children. We talk about women giving birth during a transition period where they don't even have a home. So these are just my concerns.
Yes.
I think who is in charge of the nation? Theoretically, it's the task force. As mentioned by Congressman Zia, it's an unwieldy it's an unwieldy group composed of multi-agencies who are who feel superior over each other. Meaning, Chairman Democrat is supposed to be chairman. But as Congressman Zia mentioned, he cannot dictate upon because these are secretaries also of regulatory agency. In fact, when the task force was organized, the governor of the province and the mayor of the city were not made members.
Right.
We're not members, and yet you're the first person who should be members. They know what happened, and then as a later on, they found out their mistake. They found out their mistake, and then they make the knowledge known to the customers. The point I'm trying to drive home is that it is very hard really to supervise or do the project that is composed of many elements you cannot discipline. I think that's the lesson learned, I think, from what happened to Marawi. Maybe one next time, hopefully there will be no next time. We will not play the same task force, but to the credit of the task force, they have done something for the group. In fact, I am thankful whether the task force is still existing or not. I do not see the infrastructure of the office of the task force in Marawi, but yet somebody is doing the work through the National Housing Administration. And the LHC is only one of the main agencies of the task force. That could be a problem. On the gender problem, about I think they have some statistics about. I read somewhere about women and children who were victims. There's a data, I think, somewhere. I don't know, but.
Do you have hospital in Marawi?
But I would like to assume you that they are given due recognition. For example, the Marawi Compensation Board is chaired by a lady. And we have the Secretary General of the board, who is also a lady. In other words, the government is not oblivious of the role of women in the start of rehabilitating, the process of rehabilitating Marawi. Maybe Congressman Zia can add to what else. Thank you very much.
Zia, I just have to add this because we're talking about how difficult it is to coordinate when you've got all of these staff level secretaries. But I just wanted to remind, when Typhoon Haiyan hit, same thing. You have all of these secretaries in an interagency committee, but all the people from the affected area were present after barely 2 years. So why is it like this in Marawi? I'm sorry, I just couldn't help but say that.
Just additional input on that one, Rahman. Actually, ma'am, that has been the problem because the message that we want to send across is social healing. You've heard that, I think, at the start of the rehabilitation, social healing. So we're not only focused on rehabilitation, the physical infrastructure, but we also need to have a comprehensive rehabilitation. It's not a rebuilding, it's rehabilitation. So the meaning is you have all sectors that were damaged: infra, education, health. In fact, the Marawi City and Lanao del Sur provincial government, together with Mindanao State University, we formed a team. We were actually assisted by yearend. The team also includes IDP, the home-based IDP, meaning those IDPs who are residing temporarily outside of Marawi City, and the IDPs that are living in the evacuation centers. What are their priorities? So we came up with the master plan, the comprehensive rehabilitation plan. And we presented this in Iligan. And before, I think that time was Undersecretary Yano of Defense. Because the DNPM, as you can recall, was first assigned, the DND is the chair. Now it was changed. It made, I think, NHA as the chair of the task force from Marawi. So we presented our master plan. I even actually was the one who presented it to them with the PowerPoint and everything. So we classified 5 important subcommittees: livelihood, education and health, infrastructure, the one that you're seeing now in Bahay, is just one component of the rehabilitation. Women and peace and order. So all of these should be put into consideration, meaning there should be a parallel accomplishment in progress between and among all the subcommittees, all the concerns that we were identifying. And so what we saw and what we witnessed up to now, they have focused more on infra. There's lack support in terms of livelihood. The problem is that, remember I said there's no specific government effort in terms of monetary allocation assistance to Marawi specific funding. It's because DTI has a program that is not intended specific for the peculiar condition in Marawi. I'll give you an example. PSWD, for example, they've been using 4Ps as a means to support IDP, but everywhere else, all over the country, all regions, they've been receiving 4Ps. But it's not intended specifically for Marawi alone. Yes, we have marginalized families in Marawi who are receiving 4Ps, but they're not necessarily an intended assistance for the peculiar condition of Marawi that has brought by the siege. What we want is something that is tailored fit for Marawi City. That's why we have the master plan. And now, after 6 years, and thankful we have the NGOs and our international, donor agencies, etc., from the private sector, because they had, were a big help in Marawi. Those mosques that you see, these are privately funded. It's not government funds that were used to rebuild this masjid, this mosque. So in terms of accountability in financing, you cannot, I think on my humble opinion is that you cannot just simply audit. It's like there's no specific program to audit in the first place. All of these national policy programs that is, as a service delivery of each agencies for the entire nation, including Marawi City, are the ones you'd audit. But there's no specific, only the infrastructure component that is now being audited. And previous, the peculiar condition have been asking FPM, please give us your report, how much has been allocated, how much has been actually spent, how many construction that is still ongoing. And I've learned, I think almost half of the budget, half of the programs or projects were unutilized. They were sent back to the national treasury because of bidding and because of problem of land dispute, etc. So yes, had the national government really followed the master plan as presented by the local government, I think we'd have seen a better result. So I think it's time that we change the FPM. In fact, my proposal to the President is change the FPM. Kasi nagkakaroon, it's a problem eh. There's no specific and, in fairness to Secretary Rosario, you cannot just simply put out your funding that is intended for a particular program and use it for Marawi. Diba? So I think it has to be, I told them, why not make it under the office of the President? The President should be the chair. It's a program-based rehabilitation effort for Marawi City because the President will be the sole responsible for rehabilitating Marawi and not place it to NHA, not place it. You're the head of the cabinet, for God's sake. You be the one responsible for the rehabilitation. And that is my proposal. Make it as a program-based rehabilitation office. And by the way, just to add to ma'am, we have already, my bill, the internally displaced person, has already been approved in the committee. And hopefully we'll be tackling the issues about women, the rights of the women, the access to health, etc. Displaced people will be tackling it and scheduled for rehabilitation. So thank you. That's just information to what they said. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for response. From our viewers online, so we're taking a question, but for now we have people watching from agency in campus. So thank you for attending. So for the question, okay, how will the Marawi Compensation Board address compensation to those families, heirs of land owned by deceased parents who have problems on land title? I think this is for Atty.
Thank you, So for the conflict on land title, the mandate of the Marawi Compensation Board is only to compensate those destroyed structures, not including the land. So if in case there will be a land title, in our process, it will be referred first to our dispute resolution unit, who will try to mediate and arbitrate those conflicting claimants or heirs. And afterwards, if they are settled on the level of the dispute resolution unit, then it will be forwarded to the board for their approval. So yun po yung procedure and how we will address those conflicting claims over land titles.
The question on land title is not any jurisdiction. It's not very concerned of the Marawi Compensation Board.
Yes.
The only concern is payment of personal property damage. But conflicting lands is not your province, right?
The conflict on land title is not within the jurisdiction of Marawi Compensation Board. So for the NCB, we will try to refer it to the DRU if they can settle among themselves, so the heirs or the conflicting claimants. So if not, then the NCB has no jurisdiction or authority to decide over the land title conflicts.
I think that I think we need to review again the law because in the law there's one provision in the law that everything that concerns Marawi rehabilitation is decided by the board. So I don't know how would you expand that definition to include more other things in our dispute. Yeah, because I think that's already in the law. I don't know how would you put that into context.
For NCB po, Congressman, if a claimant will prove before the board that a certain structure, since we are compensating only those properties or structures and not the land, if a claimant can prove before the board that he is the owner or owner of the structure, then the board will give or award compensation.
You have to be very careful about your decision because your position is similar to that of an associate justice of the Court of Appeals. In other words, this could be used by parties in a conflict of land ownership. They can always say that, well, it was a judicial body, and the Supreme Court has already awarded it once, which is a prima facie finding that we have the legitimate owner of the land. You really have to be very careful about deciding cases like this because of your status as akin to that of an associate justice of the Court of Appeals.
Yes.
We now take a question from the floor.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the panelists for these updates. I have a couple of questions. One is, we heard that military detachment of military headquarters will be set up in Marawi. Now, I know that there's a lot of opposition about this. Can you tell us if this is something that the people welcomes, Or is this going to be a source of insecurity? That's one. The second is, what are you doing to educate the people about violent extremism and its presence in the Philippines and how to prevent it in the long term, and particularly on the youth of Marawi? And lastly, because I think the reception is so bad, in Marawi, there's so many people from the Z group that are listening. I'd like to just articulate one of the questions. And the question is, what are the remedies for the IDPs who don't have proper documents such as land titles, tax declaration, and others, hence cannot return and rebuild their homes? Thank you. I'm Aurora De Jones from the Women and Gender Institute, and we are part of the Women's Collective with PCID and Center for Legislative Development.
So thank you, ma'am, for the question. I will go first for the third question. What is the remedy of the IDPs in the absence of land titles? Tomorrow, inshallah, the IRR will be signed and be released to the public. And you will see there that the documentary requirements is not strict on the land titles and other documents proving your ownership over the land. The board is only after to those documentary requirements that will prove that you are the owner of the properties or the structures damaged or destroyed. And it is not only limited to the tax declaration or to those land titles which the improvements on the title is annotated. So in the absence of other documents, we can settle for affidavits of the adjoining structure owners or other documentary, any documentary evidence, even photographs, even videos that can prove before the board that you are the owner of the structure, then it is sufficient. Oh, thank you.
Actually, the Maa, the most affected area, you have to separate, just to put into context. In Marawi City, you have the river. The western, I think western part ng Maa, and it's eastern part, the 24 barangays are heavily titled. And the problem really is not the lack of title, but the titles that are overlapping. That's the problem. That's why you have the land dispute resolution committee, I think. No? Because on the other side, then you have the problem of land titling because it's under military reservation. So your first question, ma'am, is there's a military detachment. That's the old city hall, I guess, no? And they're planning to put up another military detachment there. So I think the general perception or the general sentiment of the people is really they don't want another detachment. That's very clear. It's very obvious. You already have the 103rd Brigade. So should our military decides to put up another military camp, because we also understand the threat. We don't want another repeat of Marawi, and we don't want again for the violent extremists to have another platform again or venue again to recruit and possible fighters. So that we do not want. So the physical presence of our authorities, including that of a report from the ground, should be parallel in order to really push back the entry again of violent extremism. So we understand this has to be a massive, or if not adequate, authority presence or military presence in the area. So what we wanted is not really to have, it's just a few meters, because 103rd Brigade up to the going to the, I think to the old city hall is just about 6 kilometers or 4 kilometers. It's less than, yeah. So it's very close to each other. Even in the hospitals, you cannot put up medical center, tertiary medical center in one area where you have there within 4-meter range. So if that is a policy that we impose on medical care, why not also use that as military policy? So why not, put another detachment in an area that is not within Marawi City? That's one of the proposals, because we also understand the need. Number two, it's the old city hall is I personally wanted to convert that as a cultural center, to preserve our heritage. That was built, I guess, in 1920s or 30s, Panelists. So it's actually our testament of the Lanao people that we have already joined the mainstream Filipino society. I remember my grandparents, every time I go to school, they tell me, do not listen to Filipinos. Don't listen to Filipinos. Because they don't really consider themselves Filipinos. No? They are separate nation, we're separate nation. And so that's actually a testament that finally Mindanao people really joined the mainstream Filipino society, that city hall, being here. So I would have wanted to have it converted into cultural center, heritage center. So I think the you have 3 questions. So the general sentiment really is yes. But since I think they will have to go through public consultation first. But I'm not sure if they have already done with the bidding, because what I've heard is that the structure or the bidding, the actual start of the construction of that city hall to be converted as a military culture has already been built out. So I'm not sure because they have not started yet the construction. So it will be unwise for me if they start that rebuilding while the private houses have not yet been rebuilt. So parang insensitive masyado. But we also understand that there has to be a presence of our military troops in the area, but not necessarily, if I would personally, not necessarily close to each other, because that's less than, I think, 6 kilometers away from the one that's refugees.
I have something that it is, we just want to make it very clear that there is an idea coming from the military. It's not coming from the people of Marawi. It will convert the Islamic city into a garrison city. Can you imagine there will be 3 headquarters of Philippine Army, Philippine National Police, surrounding the rest of the area? I mean, it will destroy the sanctity of the city as Islamic city with such headquarters or military installation. There might be violation of human rights and the respect that we are giving to the women. Mostly women are modest, and we feel that there may be some abuse that will be committed if you cannot avoid these military abuses in the area. We have that in Lalanto, we have that in other areas with our military. So we are completely against the militarization or converting the Islamic city of Marawi into a garrison city of Marawi. On your question about value progression on against violent extremism, there are some measures being made by the government. For example, they are closely monitoring some programs of Muslim schools on that are teaching exclusively Islamic history, Islamic values, with the introduction of Philippine history and sciences also to be taught. Because before, they have like a parallel school. I mean, they don't teach any values about Philippine culture, but exclusively for Islamic values. So now they have sort of mixed these values in order that values like nationalism and patriotism will be inculcated in their minds. They agree something about this, and perhaps what should be looked into is the sending of scholars, unregulated sending of scholars to the Mindanao countries, especially those who are known to be violent, to those who are propagating violent extremism and the Middle East. So that's how they are being addressed.
Dr. Mikey?
I'll just take a couple of responses to questions raised. First of all, in terms of who is the kind of lead person on the ground for Task Force on Marawi, it's Felix Castro. And love him or not love him, he works day and night for the rehabilitation of Marawi. On health data, if it would be helpful to you, I'd be happy to give you my email address and I can link you to some of the health data. On the issue of sharers and renters and informal dwellers, I think what we're hearing is that they will not benefit from the Marawi Compensation Board because they don't own structures. Or other property. So the
Responsibility of the sellers and the renters.
For the renters. For the renters, sharers or lessees, they can claim compensation, but for the other properties, like their personal properties, and not for those structures or real properties.
That's important clarification and it's good news. So thank you for that. I appreciate that. And then on the issue of task forces, I think yes, they can be problematic, but I value truth very much, and it's not true that Yolanda was over in 2 years. The task force disappeared, but the work continued for a long time. In fact, even recently. And our organization ourselves were there 4 years and would have stayed longer if we had more funds. So it's not correct to say Yolanda finished in 2 years or 3 years. It didn't, and some would say it hasn't. But the question of are task forces effective or not effective, kind of a mixed bag.
Thank you. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for questions. But I'm sure you have more questions. There was at least one in Sido. So for those on site who have questions, you'd probably just approach our panelists after the session. Thank you. So at this point, we award certificates. So we award the certificates of appreciation for our panelists. So let me just read what's written. Certificate of appreciation is awarded to, in grateful recognition of his or her contribution as a speaker in the forum Eyes on Marawi, internally displaced persons 60 years after the siege, organized by the Philippine Center for Islamic Democracy, UP College of Law and Mindanao State University, held on the 22nd of May 2023 at the University of the Philippines UGC campus. Scheduled the 22nd day of 2023 in Manila, Philippines. So, Atty. Lalanto, this is for you. Yeah.
Join us for the it's very hard. Like both parts of
I would like to call Professor Emerson Magnus on stage, please. Dr. Stephen Muncy. Congressman.
Thank you so much. So the teacher can join us.